The topic we're going to discuss today in this segment is about how often you need to service your car and the things that you need to look out for. When you talk about servicing, right, it's quite a complex thing. Normally people think it's only changing the engine oil and the filter, but servicing involves a lot more things. When it comes to servicing, you need to make sure you do a preventive maintenance sort of service. This will ensure that you will drive your car without any sudden issues that will come up where you will be left on the road stranded. So when it comes to your engine oil and filter, you need to usually do a service anywhere between 5 to 10,000 kilometers, especially for a country like Sri Lanka. When it comes to a hybrid vehicle, you can generally get away with doing a service every 10,000 kilometers. This is because your engine doesn't run as much. It runs about 25 to 30% less than you would on a normal petrol conventional engine. So mainly if you're going for a good oil, you're using a fully synthetic oil, you can run up to about 10,000 kilometers even on a normal car, but anywhere between 5 to 10,000 would be the normal time that you would have to change your oil. When it comes to lower quality oils and cheaper oils like mineral oils, I would really recommend you to change your oil anywhere between 3 to 5,000 kilometers. When it comes to mineral oils, they sludge faster, they have less cleaning components in the chemicals, and they don't last very long, so they will cause your engine to degrade much faster. So this is why for a mineral oil, you would want to change your oil at more frequently at around 3 to 5,000 kilometers. When it comes to manual transmission, there is usually no oil filters that are inside the transmission, but with the exception of a few special models. But with the automatic, you have to remember there is always a oil filter which you need to change. So make sure that you do this every time you flush or change your transmission oil. Generally with automatic transmissions, you need to be very specific about the oil that goes into the transmission. This will usually be indicated in the dipstick or in the user manual for the operation manual of the car. This is very specific. If you miss out and you use the wrong brand, you're definitely going to cause damage to your transmission. When it comes to engine coolant, the reason you need to change this is because engine coolant works as two things. In other countries, it works as an antifreeze, and as well as it has a higher boiling point, so it will stop the car from overheating as well. Say the fans or anything start to not function. But the other important part is it keeps away oxidants and rust from your engine and the components that help cool your engine. So this is a very important component which is overlooked, and normally people would replace their coolant with water. I strongly do not recommend you do this because coolant really helps keep the integrity of the engine, the cooling system going. If you replace it with water, you are going to increase the chances of oxidants and rust formation and build up inside your engine. And if you don't drive your car as often, this is going to end up in a block and you're going to severely damage your engine when it overheats. When it comes to your brake oil, usually you can run about 100,000 kilometers, but if you feel that you have any issues with your brakes or you have been advised by a service advisor at a workshop, I would suggest you to look at this. And usually topping up brake oil is alright, but make sure it's the same brand, make sure it's the same dot rating. If not, if you're unsure, flush your system and put in a new brake oil which you'll be able to run for another 100,000 kilometers. The other component you need to always remember to service is the drive belt. This is quite an important factor that is there, because if a drive belt breaks on you when you're on the road, you will not know for a while. Drive belts are associated with your power steering, sometimes with your AC, sometimes with your charging system, and most likely your coolant system. So when it comes to this, make sure you check it periodically, and I would recommend doing a change between 20 to 25,000 kilometers. It's not a very expensive replacement and doesn't cost too much either. This will save you the hassle of being broken down on the road or having huge repairs, which will happen if, say, your water pump fails or your alternator stops charging, you're going to flatten your battery and you might sometimes have to replace your battery. So this is always a component, the drive belts, which you need to look at and which are quite important and which need to be periodically serviced and replaced. Another two components that you should really consider when you are doing your service is the cabin filter and the air filter. These two components, one obviously is for inside the car, which works with the AC, and it affects the air that you breathe. So I consider this a very important filter. I usually change it somewhere between 10 to 15,000 kilometers, or when I feel that the car doesn't have a fresh smell, or you get a moisture sort of or a dusty sort of smell inside your car. This would indicate to you this is the time to replace your cabin filter. When it comes to the air filter, however, if you don't change this or service it periodically, what happens is it affects the performance as well as the efficiency of your vehicle. So you can find that your car will not be accelerating as well or will not be doing good on fuel either. So this is these two components normally I do between 10 to 15,000 kilometers. When you take your car to service next time, remember it's just not about changing your oil and your oil filter. Try to speak to the service advisor and say that you want a comprehensive maintenance service done. Get him to quote you and tell you how much it's going to cost, but it's something I would strongly recommend. Even if you do your service every 5,000 or 10,000 kilometers, it's something that I like to practice. So usually when I do a service, I keep a maintenance record, something like this, a small card, which allows me to make sure that all components are running. I'm just going to run through some of the components that I do when I do a normal maintenance service. Usually, like mentioned earlier, I do an engine oil and oil filter change. I'd also check the integrity of the transmission oil, the differential oil if there's a differential, your brake fluid, your clutch fluid, your power steering fluid, and your coolant. These are the major components. I mean, these are a must to be checked every time you do your service. Other things that you'd look at if you have a maintenance type battery is your maintenance, your battery fluid in your battery. A common thing that is usually not filled up is your windscreen washers on your vehicle for the wipers. A lot of people forget to do this. Something that I'd recommend when you add water to this is use a lubricating soap so that your wipers will last longer on your vehicle. A few other things to look at, which I mentioned earlier also, was the air filter and the cabin filter. Along with this, you also get the fuel filter. Fuel filter really affects the performance of your vehicle if it's blocked. Right, so this is a component that you would need to look at as well. It's a little tough to do, but it's something I would recommend doing at least every 20,000 kilometers. Other components are make sure that your brake lights, your headlights, your high beam, low beam, signal lights, all your lights are functioning. This will help you avoid having an accident. If you hit the brakes and somebody who's behind you can't see the lights, this is an issue. So make sure that you check that all your lights are functioning on your vehicle. A few other components that are also commonly not looked at are your tire pressure, the condition of your tires, and even rotating your tires. These things will help you have a long-lasting tire and give you more efficiency out of your vehicle, and also getting your alignment done. This is something very important. Getting it done every 10,000 kilometers or so is very much highly recommended. Another thing that you need to look at is how good your battery is. This is another component that might fail on you in the middle of the road and cause you a lot of trouble trying to get it started up again. Other things to look at which are quite important is when you jack up the car, check the integrity of your drive shaft boots, your power steering rack boots. These things can get cut or damaged and take in a lot of dust and dirt, which will cause for premature part failure and again cause a lot of sounds and issues and might stop you in the middle of the road. Another thing very important, something that's always forgotten, is the condition of your wiper blades. They deteriorate very fast. So when it's coming towards the rainy season, always make sure that you've replaced your wiper blades to a brand new set, which is going to be working nicely and allow you to have clarity and vision while it's raining, especially in the night. That's about it on that. Also try to wash the underneath of your car, as you gather a lot of dirt and dust and grime, and these things Over time, we'll add to the weight of the car, we'll add to components failing, so on. So having a good clean wash, making sure that everything is clean underneath just as it is outside is just as important. So that's the end of our segment today on servicing. If you have any inquiries or want to learn or know more about the topics that have been discussed, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Auto Arcade.